In this video, we're going to talk about mindfulness and how you can use it to increase your emotional intelligence. Hi, I'm Ron with Lead Skill. We help leaders increase their emotional intelligence for themselves and for their teams to produce better results. So I want to talk about mindfulness. And we first of all need to take a look at why we are not mindful. First of all, for myself, is that I do a lot of things that are mindless and nervous activity. So whether it's just twiddling my fingers or like checking my phone, my messages, just think about the number of times. There have been studies done on this that the average person with a smartphone today is going to look at their phone hundreds of times in a day. And so that in itself is just a symptom of our mindlessness. And I've started thinking about myself, just some of the battling thoughts that I have inside, the confused thinking, where I'm not very clear, very straight about understanding what's going on and what's happening in society, what's happening in my own life, my relationships, how I manage myself, the distractions that come up, and the emotions, the ups and the downs that are just part of everyday life. All of these symptoms of a deeper rooted problem is mindlessness, or a lack of a grounded center, a center for my emotions and also for my mind that I can come from. So if we can deal with that, if we can bring a higher level of functioning to our everyday life, if we can bring mindfulness to it, we're going to have more emotional intelligence. We're also going to have a better quality of life, and that's what I'm about. So let me begin by explaining or defining what I mean by mindfulness. And I'm going to go through some hand motions because it just helps me to center this, and maybe it will help you too. So mindfulness is being aware on purpose to what is happening both inside of me and around me in the present moment. So there's several parts to that definition, and I would just encourage you to go with it for now. And as we go a little bit further into mindfulness, I will explain why all those different parts of my definition are there and how they can help you to practice better mindfulness. So let's jump right in to mindfulness. So the question arises, how do we cut through the noise? How do we focus our attention so that at the end of the day, we feel both productive and feel like we've lived a meaningful day? That's a very good question, and that's the kind of question that we focus on when we practice mindfulness. So mindfulness is about choosing which questions you're going to focus your attention on and which thoughts you're just going to let go. Now, I assume that you want to grow and you want to lead others well. And that's the reason that you are spending time watching this video and that you are dialing into mindfulness. You want to grow in it. And so I want to honor your time and your attention and give you some tips about how you can practice mindfulness, coming from many years of experience and practice for myself in developing and growing a mindful practice. Now, mindfulness is a practice. And so in that way, it's not a lot unlike other things that you would practice to get better at, like learning to cook meals or drive a car or go to the gym and work out, maybe learn another language. So any of these things you get better at with practice. Same thing with mindfulness. And so just a few words that I want to say to you as a way to get started in the path of mindful practice. The first one is you need to commit to this, all right? You need to persist. In order to get better, in order to practice and gain mindfulness, you're going to have to push through and persist in the ongoing everyday practice of mindfulness. Now, that doesn't mean it's going to take a ton of time or incredible superhuman efforts. It's not. We're talking about just a couple of minutes a day. And it's one of the simplest activities that you can do because it literally is just sitting still and being with your thoughts and your feelings. Now you can add layers on top of that, but that is it at its base. You can add writing and do mindful journaling. I've got another video about that. You can do mindful walking, but at just its sheer simplistic essence, mindfulness is just about sitting still and being with your thoughts and your feelings and noticing them. So you need to persist. You need to commit to this from the beginning. As you persist, you're also going to need a sense of humor. It's amazing the things that a sense of humor will help you with. You don't take yourself quite so seriously. You don't get so hung up on doing it just right or being perfect. You're not so judgmental. And one of the really important things about mindfulness is learning to suspend judgment. Learning to just have a sense of humor and to even laugh at ourselves, at least to smile at ourselves and our own efforts, and realize that whenever our thoughts keep coming up and we cannot wrestle them down, whenever our emotions are on a seesaw or they're like a roller coaster up and down, that just have a sense of humor, just chuckle, just laugh and go with it. Have a sense of humor. So persist, have a sense of humor, and third of all, have compassion. Have compassion for yourself. This is going to be tough for some of you, but if you will cultivate more of a sense of understanding and compassion and just practice that kindness to yourself as you're growing in the practice of mindfulness, it will really help you out to gain some really valuable things in the process. So there's some encouragement for you. I hope you'll return and watch this as you're practicing mindfulness. Try to watch this at least once a week as you're beginning in your practice of mindfulness. And in another video that I'm going to link to, I'm going to give you more specific steps. In fact, a 6-step framework in order to get yourself in just the right place for practicing mindfulness on an ongoing basis. But you don't even have to use my 6-step framework in order to begin right now practicing mindfulness. So I want to give you the very stripped down, the most simple 3-step process to begin mindfulness. And I've already alluded to some of it just a moment ago, but I want to just really make it very clear and make it memorable for you so that you can start practicing mindfulness in the way that I've learned to do it over the years. The first most important thing is to stop. You've got to stop whatever you're doing and just decide, okay, now is time to practice mindfulness. One of the things that you can do, an action that will anchor this really well, is to set a timer for yourself. Most of us have smartphones these days, or you can use a clock or a timer in the house. And I would just ask you to set a couple minutes on that timer. It doesn't have to be a long stretch of time. It could be as little as 2 minutes. You could go for 5, 7, 10 minutes, but set a timer for a certain period of time, a few minutes, and get started. But you've got to stop whatever else you're doing in the moment to do this. Stop and then sit. I really recommend sitting. Now you can use other postures as you learn more about the practice of mindfulness. You can do this laying down, you can do this standing up, you can do this walking, but the most basic posture to take is sitting. Now where should I sit? How should I sit? Again, we're not going to get hung up on all the different variations. I would say just find a comfortable chair. Find a comfortable place that's padded where you can sit, and not too comfortable, not like a sofa, or not a place where your knees are going to be higher than your hips, where you're going to be uncomfortable. It's going to be hard to keep yourself upright, have your back straight. But find a place to sit. Just sit down, put yourself at ease, be comfortable, be relaxed. And for the duration of the time that you've set on your timer, you're going to be sitting. And the third thing to do, and this is just simplicity itself, but I want you to breathe. Now I know that you're going to be breathing, because if you're not breathing, you're not alive. But we're talking about a intentional sort of breathing, a more conscious, a mindful way of breathing. And all that I want you to do is just pay attention to your breath, your normal breathing, and just slow it down a notch, just one notch. So if you're normally just breathing, just think about, I'm going to take a little deeper breath and I'm going to let it out and just feel a fuller sense of breathing. Now, don't push yourself. Don't make this something that you really don't have to do that. Don't. If you're making any noise with your breath, you're probably overdoing it. You're overachieving. You don't need to do that. So just breathe and add a little bit more awareness to your breath, a little deeper, a little fuller. That's it, just a little bit. Breathe. And as you practice mindfulness, you're going to notice things around you. You're going to notice things inside of you, whether it's thoughts, emotions. And I would just encourage you, don't fight those, but put your attention back on your breath and breathe. Just a little slower, a little deeper, but breathe until your timer goes off, and then you're done. You've completed a session of mindfulness. And then come back and do it again tomorrow. So that is how to begin a practice of mindfulness. It doesn't have to be complicated. Please don't overthink this and overdo it, but just stick to the basics and start accumulating the benefits, because they are very slow and gradual. But it's just like brushing our teeth. It's just like bathing every day. Brushing your teeth just a couple minutes every day gives you good oral hygiene, keeps your teeth healthy. So for mindfulness, practice it every day, a couple of minutes. It's a way of ensuring good mental hygiene and emotional health and wellness as well. I hope these tips have been helpful. I would ask you in the comments down below, put down how long you did your first mindfulness practice, how many minutes, and share any wins or what that means for you. And I want to cheer you on. And so I will answer the comments, and I look forward to hearing how you're doing on the path of mindfulness. And make sure that you come back and you watch the next video where we go through a 6-step framework for doing a full body scan and helping ourselves go a little further, the next few steps down the path of mindfulness. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.